Hello, all you lovely little listeners. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of my podcast. Today's guest was honestly a treat. Dr. Dan was truly a last minute guest. He hopped on the podcast with little to no notice and just gave us an absolute banger of a conversation, in my opinion. He's a really interesting character. His career story over the past 8 to 10 years just takes an absolute beautiful arc that you wouldn't really expect. He is the full embodiment of somebody who just takes what life has to give him and makes the best of it, from working in a corporate setting to moving to New York City without a job to capitalizing on his social media endeavors to working on Broadway, blowing up on social media, now writing a book. I mean, the man has done it all and he is continuing to do it all. So I truly enjoyed this conversation. I feel like I learned a lot. I was thoroughly entertained the entire time, and I think you guys will be too. So without further ado, here's Dr. Dan. Dr. Dan, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming on.
I'm so happy to be here, Ronnie. Thank you for having me.
Yes, and in such short notice, I literally DM'd him. Was it last night or 2 nights
I think
ago?
it was genuinely yesterday. And I said, how does within 24 hours sound? And you were like, let's do it.
I was cracking up because you're like, I'm actually really busy the rest of the year. Can you do tomorrow? I was like, actually, yes. I have nothing going on other than a baby. So
Which is it's a big thing to have going on. So thank you for your flexibility.
For sure. She's downstairs sleeping, so we're good to go. And she's being watched by my husband. She's not just like
Of course, yeah.
Unsupervised. Yeah. But anyways, I've been following you for a while. I'm excited to just have you on and kind of get into a lot of different things about the PT industry, the social media industry, all of the things. But for our listeners, just give a little background on yourself.
Sure. So my name is Dan. I'm a physical therapist. Most people know me from my social media posts under the handle Dr. Dan DPT. I am currently a physical therapist in Midtown Manhattan at a clinic called MIMS Method Physical Therapy, where we have kind of created a nice little niche for ourselves, treating on Broadway and working with some dance clinics. But of course, we treat your average everyday New Yorker as well. So that is currently where I stand in the shortest, fewest words possible.
How long have you been a PT?
I have been a physical therapist, I guess, for about 8 years. I graduated in 2017. So it still feels fresh. I don't think you ever feel fully grounded as a physical therapist. I still feel closer to a new grad than a veteran PT. But yeah, I'm closing in on a decade.
And where did you go to PT school?
I went to physical therapy school at the University at Buffalo. Go Bills.
Hey, go Bills. Who's your quarterback?
Josh Allen is the quarterback of
Yes.
the Buffalo Bills. I'm actually a diehard Philadelphia sports fan. We don't have to
Okay.
get into that, but I lived in Buffalo for 7 years, developed a nice little sweet spot. But Josh Allen is the quarterback, new husband to Haley Steinfeld.
That's right. Okay, so speaking of TikTok, you mentioned TikTok earlier. I don't follow like NFL football at all, but I saw this amazing TikTok of Josh Allen and like all of his highlights, and I was like, I think I'm a Bills fan now. This is so cool. So
He's a lovable guy, and he can do a lot of cool things.
He sure can. I love it. Okay, and then you also played baseball, correct?
I did. At the University of Buffalo in undergrad, I played for the baseball team.
So I'm curious, did you foresee a future working with dancers when you were a baseball player?
Absolutely not. No.
Okay. Talk to us about that.
Sure. So my undergrad experience, I was an exercise science undergrad. I have my bachelor's in exercise science. And my last semester of that degree was under our head strength coach for the varsity sports teams. His name is Nate Harvey. At one point, his squat was over 1,000 pounds. I think it was like one of the 20 heaviest squats in the world at the time. He's big in the powerlifting industry, and he trained us under what's known as the conjugate method. And so a lot of my strength and conditioning background is in powerlifting because of him. And then also I wanted to be a physical therapist because of my experience playing baseball, and I have a history of shoulder injuries. And I really my goal was that as a physical therapist, I would help people not allow their bodies to get in the way of achieving their dreams in the way that kind of it happened for me. So when I first graduated, I was very focused in the weightlifting industry and very focused in the ball sports industry. But when I moved to New York, I had a great opportunity to work for Brittany Mims, who I am still with. And she had made a name for herself because she had the contract for a few Broadway shows and worked with a lot of dancers. And I remember the very first day that I went backstage and treated the cast of Chicago on Broadway, one of the longest running Broadway musicals of all time. I was very nervous that I was used to treating like very like muscular, macho, like ball sport, like kind of athletes.
Do you think they were going to be delicate?
I thought they were going to be delicate. I thought they were going to be artsy. I thought that there was so much lingo that I didn't know that I wasn't going to be able to mesh and make a connection there. And then literally after I saw my first person, I was like, oh, they're athletes like all the other athletes I've ever treated. It's not different at all. They have the same mindset. They both do the same movements over and over. Like there are far more parallels than I ever could have imagined. And then I almost think that me having a background in strength and conditioning and treating more like ball sport athletes has been a leg up rather than a detriment when working with the dance community.
Ooh, how so?
I think in general, dancers are viewed as delicate, and they're viewed as delicate by not only the people that are around them in their community, like watching their shows, but I think they're also viewed as delicate in terms of like they're just their dance teachers. And there's the trope of, oh, I can't lift weights because I don't want to lose flexibility. And I think that plays a massive role in their lives, especially when there is so much pressure as a dancer to maintain a certain body form and to be very focused on your image. But through like education and through my I'm not worried about putting a weight in their hands. And I think it hasn't been uncommon that I was the first person to kind of treat them like that. And then they get to see the benefits of gaining strength and what that can do for them. And not only gaining strength, but it doesn't limit their flexibility at all. And it really doesn't change even really how you look. And so it's all like good things. But I think not being afraid to really focus on strengthening or have a dancer do a deadlift or a heavy squat or things like that, I think it's been very positive.
I bet every dancer that's ever danced and listens to this podcast is just like clapping in the background because, well, first of all, we love to hear that it's viewed as a sport and not just an art form because it's kind of both.
It's both, but it's a sport. These people are athletes.
They are, yes. And it really hits home for me because I don't think I've ever said this on the podcast, but the reason that I wanted to go into physical therapy, I've always just gave the generic, like, yeah, I want to help people. I wanted to be in the medical field to some capacity. But I was a dancer from age 8 until I danced all the way through college on the dance teams for the sports teams. And I foresaw in my future myself working with that population. That's not where I ultimately ended up. Like now I work with more of the weightlifters, the CrossFitters, the runners, but it still holds such a special place in my heart. And I love following you for that reason because I get to see a little inside scoop on what that looks like. And it just looks like so much fun. And I love that you're loading them appropriately and using your previous knowledge from everything you learned in college to bring into that realm. Because I, like to your point, I don't think people often treat them that way.
Yeah, well, how fun that we're opposites.
I know, right? Like you were a baseballer, now you're with dancers. I was a dancer, now I do treat baseball players.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah. Do you miss the ball sports at all?
I do, for sure. But Midtown Manhattan is definitely not the place to find baseball players.
True.
I recently did get a baseball player, and it did reinvigorate a lot of my love for it, and I still very much enjoy it. But I also feel like I'm not necessarily missing out on anything because I am still getting to work with really great high-level athletes.
Mm-hmm. Can you talk to me a little bit more about the MIMS method and what that is?
So MIMS Method PT was started by Brittany Mims. It started off as just some simple alliteration, and it would make a nice logo. There was
like
no
Rehab and
real,
Ronnie.
yeah, exactly. There was no real method behind the Mims when she first founded it. And the reason that I started working with her is because when I first moved to New York, I didn't move here with a job. I moved here with my girlfriend who had a job, But because of social media, I had a little bit of a financial cushion. I didn't need to rush into a job. And so I just kind of was hanging out in New York for the first little bit when about a few weeks after I moved and I was posting about it, I got a DM from Brittany Mims. And all it said, I had never contacted her before. I didn't know her. But it said, would you ever be interested in working on Broadway? And I was like, well, that's a fascinating question. And I've got nothing but time. I'd love to follow up on that. And so I scheduled a meeting with her and I went to where she was treating at the time, which was basically like a WeWork for healthcare practitioners. So it was a really nice looking space. There were a bunch of treatment rooms, there was a Pilates area, there was a gym area, but all of the rooms were available for rent for like by the hour. And if you wanted to be in the gym, then you had to same thing like rent it by the hour. But it was a really good place for young PTs or chiropractors, massage therapists, personal trainers to kind of get started. Um, so I talked with her, and at the time, under her umbrella, and the whole reason that she basically started her practice in the first place was to take over the contracts for Chicago on Broadway and at the time Beetlejuice on Broadway. And when you're providing physical therapy to these Broadway shows, a lot of times the Broadway shows want Saturdays because they're two show days. It's towards the end of their week, and it's really hard to staff physical therapists to go consistently every single Saturday. And so she was reaching out to me just to basically have her on her Rolodex of the occasional PT that could fill in on a Saturday. And the first time we met, we talked for literally 3 hours. We aligned in ways that I really haven't aligned with a lot of people in physical therapy before. And at the end of our 3 hour meeting, I said, Brittany, I love the idea of working on Broadway, but instead of working the occasional Saturday, how about I just work, 40 hours a week? And at the time, she had a PTA that was doing like 20 hours a week and another PT under her umbrella that was doing like 10 to 15 hours a week. And it was about as much as you could do in a place like that where every single time you had a patient, all of a sudden you have to like rent a new room.
Yeah, that's tough.
It was tough, but what we decided to take a risk, I mean, more or less a risk on each other because, again, I had a little bit of a financial cushion. We could kind of see how it went. And then 4 months after I started with her, we moved into our own brick and mortar. About a half a year after that, we hired 2 new physical therapists. We hired an HR company. We have health insurance. We've since hired 2 or 3 more physical therapists. And just yesterday, she texted me saying that we hired another physical therapist, a woman that we had our eyes on and really wanted her to start. And now that she's here, she's working 20 hours. And those 20 hours perfectly fill in the gaps of the last little bit of remaining room in our schedule and with room availability. So now that we have her, we officially are at max capacity in the clinic. We are already having a 4 to 6 week wait list on new patients for all of our therapists.
Wow.
And so it's kind of crazy I met her for the first time in the summer of 2022. And speaking to you now, we're kind of in the fall of 25. So it's been just like a little over 3 years. And the growth has been crazy. And we've worked on numerous Broadway shows since then. And we've worked with dance schools like Joffrey and Martha Graham and BDC. Wow. We have Kate is one of our physical therapists, and she's also the in-house physical therapist for the American Ballet Theater. We currently still have Chicago because Chicago's not going anywhere. We also are the physical therapy team for Wicked, which we started earlier this year, which is really fun. And it's been like a wild ride, and it's been really cool. And I feel very fortunate to have this role as a physical therapist.
So what does that look like to be on Broadway on a Saturday? Because I'm picturing, like, I can picture the brick and mortar clinic where people are coming in to see you, or even dancers who are coming in their off time to do their rehab. But are you backstage, like one-on-one with people? Like, walk me through what that looks like.
So the way it works in most cases is, first of all, I think it was about 2009. It was officially written into the Actors Equity or Broadway League union. I forget what union rule it actually is, that every Broadway show must contract and provide physical therapy for the cast and crew in a place that is convenient for the cast and crew at a certain minimum amount of time, like a minimum hours per week. There are some shows, so like for instance on Chicago, we only treat 4 hours a week. We send someone on a Saturday and we send someone on a Monday. For Wicked, we're closer to 12 to 15 hours a week. And then there are some shows out there. I know Lion King, MJ, and there are a few others that hire a full time physical therapist. But those shows are few and far between. And for the shows or for the clinics like us that have these 2 day a week or 4 day a week contracts, when we go to the theater, basically it's just a Google Sheet sign up form. It's 20-minute or 30-minute slots depending on the day. And on a Saturday, we will treat between the shows. So Saturday's a 2 day show or a 2 show day. Between the afternoon show and the night show, there's generally 2-ish hours. And we'll treat for an hour and a half kind of in there doing 20-minute treats. And then a lot of it is maintenance. A lot of it is manual therapy. There's only so much you can do in 20 minutes. So a lot of it is manual. But occasionally, you'll make some additions to their warm up, or you'll make some suggestions to their workout routine, things like that. And then anytime they have something that needs more than 20 minutes of attention during our backstage days, then we heavily encourage them to fill out an accident report for their injury. Then they get sent to the show doctor, and then through the show doctor, they get a physical therapy script, and then it's all covered under work comp. And then they can see us in the clinic 2 to 3 times a week, along with also having access to those backstage, more casual treats.
Okay. Yeah, this is really fun information for me because I've always wondered what it looks like to be a backstage PT. And that's kind of what I was picturing, like shorter treatment times, because you can't do an hour for everybody. Like that just wouldn't be feasible. But you're still getting good work done. And then you're learning a lot about the dance world too. You probably didn't know what a plie was or an arabesque, and now you do.
No, or a battement. It's all, but I'm getting there.
Look at you. I love it. You touched on having a little bit of a cushion moving to New York City with social media. How long have you been posting on social media?
I started posting in May of 2020. At the time, I was actually the in-house physical therapist for the State Government Center of Indiana. My girlfriend and I were
So random.
I know. My girlfriend and I were living in Indianapolis at the time because after I graduated physical therapy school, she was still going through dental school and then ultimately went to her orthodontic residency before becoming an orthodontist. So there was some time there where we were living in Indianapolis and I was working for a company called TX Team, which focuses on building physical therapy clinics inside large office buildings. And then you end up being in network with all the employees of the building. And in the state government center, there were close to 8,000 daily employees. And then also they had like 15,000 dependents on their total plan. And I had the ability to see all of them in network. And it was my first time also being able to treat one-on-one for a full hour. And I started in December of 2019. And within a week, I was fully booked. And all the appointments were one-on-one for a full hour. Everybody was already in the building, so there was no commute to get to me. Also, I was in network with everybody, and
Were you
they
the only
offered.
PT?
I was the only PT.
Okay.
But at the time, they also had 2 PAs that worked there for general care. And then eventually it was their goal, the government center, like medical center as a whole, to bring in a dentist and bring in a psychologist and bring in a nutritionist and have a whole one-stop shop kind of medical center. And TX Team was contracted in to be like the physical therapy, like part of that arm. But I thought this was the future of physical therapy. I was like, we're going to the people. We're going to be in network. It's going to be affordable. It's going to be hour-long private care. And then we're going to change the world. And then
you could make that argument, but then
yeah, and then the world ended. And being a physical therapist inside of a large office building went from being a great job to quite literally no job at all.
Did you get let go?
I did not get let go. TX Team was tenacious about how they stood up for their employees, and we were very fortunate that they met like the midnight deadline and they stayed up at all hours to file for the PPP loan that was the first round of PPP loans. And so I knew that my job was safe until at the very least October, November. And then even when we got there, I trusted them and we had a really good working relationship, and they would basically like find ways to keep me busy in a way that still benefited the company in some way, even though it was not, treating patients. But That being said, I had no patients to treat for like about 3, 4 months.
You're like,
And in
time to get
that
on
time,
TikTok.
exactly. So I spent it all on TikTok. And I remember there was one week where the screen time app on my iPhone told me that I had spent 42 hours on TikTok. And I was not posting, I was not editing. That was pure consumption, baby.
No.
And I said to myself, I said, well, you either need to delete this app and speak to a therapist, or you could try to find a way to possibly make this a productive use of time. And I chose the latter. And so I started posting in May. And then in my third week, I had gotten to like 1,000 followers on TikTok. It was, slow and steady. It was going pretty well. And then I went viral for the first time, and the video hit like 3 or 4 million views, and it took me from 1,000 followers to 20,000 followers. I mean, back in the early days of TikTok, everybody was following everybody, so it was like
Mhm.
it was a different kind of space. But I haven't stopped since.
Wow. Well, first of all, I can identify with the like absolute time warp that TikTok can be as a consumer. 9 p.m. and you get on for what feels like 1 minute and all of a sudden it's like 11. You're like, what happened? Where did I go? It's crazy addictive. But I love the mindset shift. Like, why don't I just be a productive content producing member of society rather than just consuming this? Because like it's not like you're really probably retaining anything that you're seeing or learning anything.
Oh no, it's pure candy. It's
Yeah,
not
it's
good for you. Anytime somebody's like, I've still yet to download TikTok, I was like, don't do it.
so you went from, let's say, 1,000 in May of 2020 to now you have a million, a little over a million followers on TikTok,
Yeah,
correct?
1.1 ish. Yeah.
That's amazing. And so when you moved to New York City, where was your follower count sort of at? And it's okay if you don't have specific numbers, but how were you monetizing things at that point? Because I know that it can be definitely a great way to generate revenue.
So the reason I had a financial cushion was actually not because of brand deals or anything like that. I was doing some brand deals here and there for sure, but my TikTok following was less than half the size when I moved to New York. And then my Instagram following was, I currently have like 580-ish thousand, I think, on Instagram. When I moved to New York, it was in the hundreds. So it
Like
was a much,
500 or
no, like
oh,
100,000.
okay.
Like yeah,
Okay.
like 100,000 or so.
Gotcha.
Um so the I was doing brand deals here and there, but they weren't super lucrative or anything like that. But I had just done a contract for a company called Sword, who is a very large company that provides telehealth physical therapy services to large employers. I think they were contracted through like Adidas and like these massive corporations. And so what I was contracted for is they had the telehealth arm of providing physical therapists to do telehealth care, which was very popular because we were still kind of in the throes of COVID and it was tough to get anywhere. And so companies were like, oh, well, I can hire this company and we can do telehealth and things like that. And on top of the telehealth offerings, they had experimented with posting articles so that if you didn't want to make an appointment, at least there was some like material that you could read to learn about your diagnosis or anything or something like that. And they found out that the article, nobody was reading them.
Yeah,
Nobody
I
was
wouldn't.
interested in the articles.
Yeah.
So they said, I know what we'll do. We'll make videos. We're going to make videos because people watch videos. And I was in like the first wave of the videos that they were making. They had, I think it was 4 or 5 of their in-house like telehealth PTs, but they also wanted to have somebody on that had experience making videos and knew that like what the videos were going to look like because they didn't really know how the in-house PTs would do, and so they brought me in as kind of like a guest PT for this first round of videos. And I think I did 2 different groups of videos. I did one for pain science and one for posture. And I think there were about 10 videos in each. And they were all about like 90 seconds long. They're about the length of a modern day TikTok that I make. And to do that, they paid me very close to what I made my whole first year in physical therapy. It was
Wow.
crazy. I couldn't believe it. I still kind of can't believe it. But this company was growing like crazy at the time. I think when I first worked with them in 2021, they were valued at close to $1 billion. And now I think they're valued at close to like $5 or $6 billion. And so they had all this money to play with. And I remember when I had initial conversations about what my rate would be to make a video, I said a number that I thought was crazy, and their response was, "Yeah, that's fine." I was
And then
like,
you're like, I should have asked for more.
"Yes, yes." So I got that large influx of money, and then also when I moved to New York City, one of the first things I did was sell my car. And at the time, it was only like a 2015 Camry that had 80,000 miles on it. But at the time, the used car market was crazy. And so with that and with selling my car, I was pretty set, and I didn't have to worry about really having a real salary for what ended up being close to like 8 months in terms of like the time it took for me alone to build up to a full caseload.
And so in those 8 months, were you also sort of putting more time and effort into content creation on the Instagram, TikTok side too?
100%. And I think that is also where that's where the following kind of like really took off, is because I had so much more time to dedicate to it. And then also I had already been making videos for, 2.5 years. And so that's where I saw a lot of growth.
Mm. I followed you because I can't remember what video it was, but you have a really good way of explaining things to people, almost like if I were a lay person who didn't know any physical therapy knowledge whatsoever. You have a great way of breaking things down and making it seem simple, but it's also entertaining. Is that sort of the structure that you've always run with, or has your content changed over the years?
The goal has always been, if you know nothing about your body and nothing about strengthening and nothing about muscles, that I can deliver information in a way that you can understand the key takeaways. The reason that I chose, well, first of all, I think that my greatest strength as a physical therapist isn't manual therapy skills or my exercise bag, or I wouldn't even say like I'm the most well-read physical therapist. But I know the heart of what I'm really good at is relaying information to people and allowing them to understand the importance of why this exercise works or why this mobilization works, and getting them to understand like, oh, I can get better. And so that was always my skill set anyway. But when I looked at especially like on Instagram, the modern state of these either physical therapy or fitness influencers, the language wasn't super friendly to the average person. And I thought there was kind of a hole in the market for somebody who is a quality professional, and I do very well, I do very good work, but was speaking to the average everyday person. And if anything, I've only kind of like doubled down on that idea as I've continued.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's funny that that was the message I said really resonated with me. And you're like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. So you're
No, so
doing it.
that was very nice to hear. Yeah, because that
Yeah,
is the
you're doing
goal.
it well. It definitely worked. And like me as a PT, I'm like, oh, I'm going to save this because this is how I'm going to explain it to my patients. So it is very valuable. But aside from the educational videos, you mentioned brand deals. I'm curious just because I don't think I've had many other people on that have monetized social media in a similar way that I have. Like, Instagram doesn't really pay per views. TikTok does, but it has to be certain parameters. So if it's a brand that I genuinely use or support, like I will say yes or no to a brand deal. You've done those in the past. Are you still currently doing those? And how do you decide, like, yes, I'll work with you or no?
So I probably get, oh, I don't know, at least 20 emails a week from various companies and things like that. The overwhelming percentage are wellness brands and AI brands, which I I recently did do a deal with Tylenol because they developed a non-drug kind of like natural joint support kind
I
of
saw it. I
option.
saw it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's based on like turmeric and things where there is actual evidence that it can reduce inflammation, but there are no drugs. And so like Tylenol is a trusted brand, despite what the president may say. Um, and because it wasn't drug related, I felt okay in that instance taking the wellness deal. But I turn down close to 99% of the emails that I get, and I'm sure you can relate to this, that
Yeah.
in the health and wellness space, there's a lot of scams, there's a lot of crap, and if you want to continue to have people respect what you say and do, then you really do have to have a very high bar for what you represent and what you end up taking on. And I only end up doing in this current stage of posting, I'm probably only taking 3 to 4 brand deals a year tops.
Mhm. Yeah, it's exciting in the beginning when you're getting followers. Like I remember I hit 30,000 followers last summer and I was like, this is amazing. Like I'm an influencer. And it was around the same time that I was just sharing my journey and my story, which it kind of sounds like you were doing too. And so I started to think like, what brands do I want to work with? And the first one that I ever partnered with, which just makes me happy to say this because I still use them every day now, was the Jane app, which is like a
Yeah, Jane is great.
Jane is great. I love Jane. I'm obsessed. But even back then, I had some of the foresight to know, like, okay, this could go a lot of different ways. I could be somebody that is just like pushing products 24/7 and make a really great living that way. Or I could be a little more selective and make sure that it's stuff that I genuinely would recommend and use. And so, yeah, similar to you, I love to get the emails. And you can even tell when it's like an AI bot that's sending it to you. And it's like, we'd love to work with you, Rehab with Ronnie. I'm like, you don't even know my name. But it is an interesting world where I feel like a lot of creators, let's say they're like in the 10, 20, 30,000 range. They're like, what do I do? Where do I go from here? So, can you offer any advice for people that are thinking, like, let's just say, for the sake of this argument, they are a physical therapist creating content online and they're interested in like making money off of that to diversify their revenue. How could they best go about finding brand deals that work for them? Time for a quick little ad break so I can talk about my most favorite application when it comes to business, the Jane app. Jane is a clinical management software, and I like to call it a one stop shop for everything you need to get your clinic started. And this doesn't just apply to physical therapists. Anybody that is in the patient care realm can use the Jane app and transform their business with it, just like I did. I use Jane on a daily, maybe I would even say hourly basis, from scheduling my patients, processing payments, running reports, sending automated text reminders and email reminders about appointments, taking virtual rehab coaching and mentoring calls through the Jane app, and honestly, so much more. Jane is there for you. They do everything with you, and it feels like I have a coworker with me when I'm using Jane every day. Lucky for you listeners, I now can give you a 2-month grace period with my code RonniePT2MO. That's all caps RONIPT number 2 capital M capital O. Look for the link in the show notes to learn more about Jane and be sure to use that code to get your 2 free months with Jane.
I think it's ultimately up to the individual. And I throw no shade at anybody that takes on any kind of brand deal. I think as a quote unquote influencer, I know that I'm always prepared for, oh, like this will finally be the post where people stop caring, or this will go away, or it's so fickle with the whole like even the whole TikTok thing. Now they're retraining the algorithm. Who knows what that's going to look like? And that's where
Oh, I
most of
didn't
my
even know
following
that.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so part of the purchase of TikTok is that now it's in-house American only, and they're saying who knows what it's going to look like, but they're retraining the algorithm, and who knows what that's going to turn into. But like, it's weird to have a big presence on an app where you ultimately have no control. And so I think if you're treating it like I've hit it big for this limited period of time and I'm going to do brand deals, go for it. I never judge, I never whatever. For me, the way that I treat it is I would only work with a brand that I would feel comfortable recommending to a patient or family member. And if I don't stand by it enough to tell a friend, patient, or family member that, oh, if you bought this, this would be good for you, then I won't do it. And in this kind of like health and wellness space, unfortunately, those products are few and far between, which results in, not a bunch of brand deals.
Right. So it's either like be very selective with your brand deals or diversify your content. And so that's
Exactly.
actually kind of where I've been now. I actually just recently finished up my trial period with like an agency. So where they field all the emails and they run through all the contract negotiations. So I don't have to do that, which is awesome for me. But a lot of times it's like, it's right now it's baby clothing brand or, um, I don't know, an AI company that can help you build your website. So it's a little bit different. And so that's like a fun obstacle that I also have to overcome. It's like, okay, am I just going to continue to only post PT content or am I going to let people in on other sides of my life too? We'll see.
If you could monetize the mommy Ronnie side of things,
Mommy Ronnie, is that my new name?
it could be. Who knows? But babies need things and mothers buy things. And like
100%.
that's a really good space to be in.
It's a
I have
lucrative market. Yeah.
yeah, I joke around that if I had the same following, but I was a health and I was a beauty and fashion influencer,
You'd be a
I
millionaire.
would I'd have millions and
You
millions of dollars and
raking
I'd have
in the
so
cash.
much money. And that's why like my white whale is like, so
Your
I
white
only
whale?
wear
What's a
my
white whale?
white whale is like the thing you lust after, the thing that you want, like the thing
Okay.
that like it's this far off that's your dream. Like
Okay. This is like my new term. I didn't know.
my white whale is I only wear Lululemon in the clinic. They make not only great clothes that look professional, but also breathe well and they're very flexible. But I am 6'8". I weigh close to 260 pounds. I have a very specific body type that is hard to find clothes, and Lululemon fits my body type. I don't wear
Mm,
any other clothes. And if they could just give me a bunch of money to continue wearing their clothes, I'd be the happiest person in the world because they're just clothes. Like I don't have to worry about it. You either like them or you don't. You can buy the clothes. It is what it is. But I don't have to worry or like flex that part of my brain that is like, well, this is being marketed as like a health thing and it's being marketed like it's going to change your life and it's being marketed like it's going to fully take away your pain no matter who you are. Like
right.
that's tough to navigate. Like just
True.
give me the clothes deal.
I'm so glad that we are having this conversation because I wanted to fit into this podcast at some point, like asking how tall you are because you look so tall in some of your Instagram videos, but I didn't know how to ask. So I'm glad you just brought it up.
Yeah,
6'8".
6'8" in socks. So in most of the shoes I wear, probably closer to like 6'9", 6'10". So yeah, and about as tall as they get.
That's pretty tall.
Pretty tall.
That's wild. And Lululemon fits you. Well, maybe they'll find this podcast and they'll sponsor you.
Hey, I'd be
I
forever
wouldn't bet
indebted to
on
you
it.
if they do.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool though. That's like a dream.
Pretty cool.
That's a dream. Okay, we're gonna switch gears a little bit because, well, I guess it's a little bit switching gears, but not really because I found you because of your amazing rhetoric online, being able to connect with people and relay information well, which I think is paramount as a physical therapist. Like I always say, education is number one. Like if you walk away from my clinic knowing nothing except for what I've taught you, like let's say you never do the exercises, you never listen to anything I say, but I taught you something, like that's the most powerful. And so I think that probably plays a little bit into your most recent project, which is your book, The Pain-Free Body. I haven't read it yet because it doesn't release until December 9th, correct? But I'm just curious, does the same sort of tone you take online play into how you wrote this book?
So first of all, beautiful segue.
Thank you.
Second of all, I'm happy you said that because that is a thing that I tell students is that your best skill as a physical therapist is your ability to educate and your ability to get the patient to understand what is going on inside of their body and understand some things that are available to them to do. Because you could be the best manual therapist in the world if you don't teach them anything on how to address it, then in 3 or 4 days, everything's going to be back to where it was.
And they're
You
dependent.
could, yeah, exactly. You could have the biggest exercise bag of anybody, of any physical therapist. You could have an exercise for any diagnosis, anybody, but if you don't relay it to the patient as to why it's important, then they won't do it, and that exercise is meaningless. I'm happy you said that. Education, and if you're a physical therapist, is your best. It's your best tool. Go education.
100%. Yeah.
But yes, my book, The Pain-Free Body, comes out on December 9th. It's available for pre-order anywhere major books are sold.
That sounded a little rehearsed. I love it.
A little bit. But the idea behind the book was basically taking my posts and putting the same vibe into book form. So I went over all of the common causes of aches or pains in every joint and every muscle in the body. It starts at the foot and it works its way up to the head. And it's my goal to go over maybe like the 4 to 6 most common sources of pain in a specific body part. So even like in the knee, I broke it down between pain on the inside of the knee, pain on the outside of the knee, pain over like the kneecap,
Mm.
And inside of those sections, for each diagnosis, I try to describe in very simple terms what it would feel like if this is what you're dealing with in most cases, why it's causing pain, how it got there. And then there's also a lot of really great illustrations so that you get an idea of what the anatomy looks like in the body. And then at the end of each section, I give self massage techniques, mobilization techniques, stretching techniques, and exercise techniques that I've used with my patients in the clinic that have worked for those conditions. And so it's kind of like a one-stop shop for general education on an ache or pain that you may have been having for months, but either haven't gone in to see a PT or maybe you had a bad experience in PT. The goal was to give people autonomy so that when they're dealing with something, they can kind of look and read about it and educate themselves on their own terms and at least give themselves a starting point for some very easy movements that would get them moving in the right direction.
That's cool. And I also feel like the ideal customer for you is both the physical therapist and the patient, because I'm just picturing, like, let's say I pre-order your book, which I probably will, and then it's on my shelf in the clinic. And so then not only am I learning from you and your language and the way that you've described it, but then if I think it's going to be a really good resource for another patient of mine, I can pull it off the shelf and be like, hey, actually, we seem to come into these situations a lot where you don't know what's going on. Try this book. So I kind of feel like it could work on both ends of that, which is neat.
100%. I also think it would be a very valuable tool for a physical therapy student,
Mm-hmm.
because I know the main thing that I worried about as a physical therapist is, one, how to go through a differential diagnosis, and two, what am I going to give these people to do? And this kind of addresses both of those from a very basic level. But again, it is written for the average person. It's designed to either be a coffee table book or a tool that you could have no experience whatsoever and you can still gain an understanding and find out what to do.
What inspired this book?
The publishing company emailing me.
Oh, love it.
So I was contacted by the publishing company who found me on social media, and they just asked if I had ever been interested in writing a book. And vaguely, especially as I've grown on social media and I've kind of made a name for myself as an educator, the book was a natural progression. I just wasn't quite sure how to get there. And I also know that I don't necessarily have the discipline to sit down and write a book without a book deal, already signed, or without the use of without an editor, without any sort of guidance. I just didn't feel comfortable in my ability to do that. But when the publishing company reached out and said that they've been following me and they think that I could make a good book, I was like, well, that's flattering. And then they just asked me if I had any ideas. And when I sat with myself for a little bit, that's the idea that I had. It's basically the same muscle that I've been training, the same education muscle that I've been training, and just turning it into book form. But then bringing in a whole bunch of other diagnoses that I've never talked about before because they're too boring or because they're too rare or because I don't think they'd make a good video. So I just kind of put it all in this book, and they were happy with the idea, and I'm really happy with how it came together, and I'm really excited for people to finally have it in their hands.
I'm excited to get it in my hands, honestly. And I like the cover. It looks good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Did you pick that yourself?
So the publishing company has a design team, and I was able to add a whole bunch of things to my design board, and then they gave me a few options and then edit it back and forth, but it was fully designed by the design team with my heavy input.
So cool. I feel like you have such an interesting career arc as a physical therapist. You started somewhere so different than where you've ended up, and I feel like this definitely isn't the end of the road for you. You have a lot of things going on. You're making content, you're working as a PT, you're working on Broadway, you're writing a book. Can you walk us through, if there is even such a thing, the average day in Dr. Dan's world? What are you doing on your typical Tuesday?
All right, let's do a Tuesday. So
Okay.
On Tuesday, so all of our appointments are one-on-one for an hour, and they are fully private sessions. And so from 8 to noon, I will take 4 patients. I have a lunch from 12 to 2. I take a 2-hour lunch, and it's my goal to post a video every day that I work. I don't batch content. I don't hold on to content. If you see me post a video, I made that video that day. And if I have a fully booked day on that Tuesday, I will likely show up to the clinic at about 7:15 and film some content. I will treat those 4 patients. And then the reason that I take a 2 hour lunch is so that I have time to edit. And so I'll come home, I'll eat, I'll answer some emails, I'll edit whatever post that is for the day. And then I will go back to the clinic and I take a 2 o'clock patient and a 3 o'clock patient. And then from 4 to 6, I'm blocked off because while we send someone to Wicked 3 days a week, currently on Tuesdays, we also have a 2 hour block where the Wicked casting crew can come in for full half-hour treatments inside the clinic. Which is really nice because we have access to a whole bunch of tools. We obviously have access to the weights and things like that. So it allows us to do a little bit more. And then I will take a 6 o'clock patient and I'm done at 7. And then I come home and I sit down and I post the content that I made. And that's kind of like the end of my workday. So on my longest days, it's about like a 7:30ish to 7:30ish kind of workday.
Hmm. And then is there much variety from like a Tuesday to a Wednesday and so on, or no?
The only difference is that on Wednesday in the afternoon, I go to Wicked.
I love how you're like
Uh,
literally taking it literally day by day.
I mean,
No,
it's
it's
best
good. It's
to,
good.
the specifics I think are helpful.
Yeah.
Uh, on Wednesday, the only difference is I go to Wicked.
Okay.
And then Monday and Thursday currently for me are just full days in the treatment, seeing patients. And then I'm off every Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
So is that when you write your book, Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
That is when I wrote my book on
Cool.
Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays
There you go. Working weekends.
exactly from about November through the end of June, about 5 hours every single Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, about 15 hours a weekend. I sat and wrote. It was hard. It did result in my first case of actual burnout, but we made it through, and it's about to happen, and I'm really excited about it.
Very cool. I think that there's something to be said about just that sort of feat, like accomplishing something like that. First of all, having the discipline to be able to sit down for however many weekends in a row, 5 hours a day, 3 days in a row. Not a lot of people can do that. Like, or I mean, they can, but they're not going to. So good on you. Like, hats off to you, because I think that that speaks a lot to just what you're capable of. And so I feel like if I had been able to pull that off, now I'd be like, well, now what else can I do? You know what I mean? Like, are you going to do another book? Or are you going to do something else, something different now that you know you have the capacity for that?
Part of the reason I'm so excited for the book to come out is so I can like catch my breath. And I have once the book does come out, I haven't bought like a new gaming console in a while. And I'm going to buy a gaming console and I'm going to start putting some hours into totally meaningless things.
There you go.
Because it's been a journey and it's been a lot of work. And it's nice of you to say all those things, but I think it came from when I started getting a following. I set a goal for myself. It's a vague goal. I'm currently 33, and my goal is that by the time I'm 40, I no longer have to see patients, and that I will have an education career regardless of what social media looks like at the time or what the current state of the internet looks like at the time. But I want to be able to fully sustain myself on educational content by the time I'm 40. I think I will always be seeing patients because I also am kind of a firm believer that the second I'm no longer seeing patients on a regular basis, I will likely lose touch. And I think that's a hard thing to deal with. So I will always likely see patients as long as I'm making content. But I would love to have the freedom of not having to see patients by the time I'm 40. And so, again, I'm always waiting for the social media side of things to just fail or people to lose interest. And
Me
so
too.
a book deal came at a great time. And I was like, let's capitalize on this. Let's put this out there and then see what happens. And so I'm not sure what's next. I think I'd like to start making long form YouTube videos. I think that sounds like a good next step. But yeah, what's next? What's next for you? Where do you see your social media career going?
Oh, flipping the script on me. I'm similar to you. I feel like these things are very transient, and like you can reap the benefits while things are big, and then sometimes things will flop. And I'm just very like probably hyper aware of the fact that this is probably not forever. I love my brick and mortar business. To your point, I love treating patients, and I would love to not have to do that all the time, but I don't think I'm ever going to lose touch with that, just because there's just a certain joy that comes from like just getting somebody better one-on-one in person and
100%.
seeing that light bulb go off. Uh, But social media wise, yeah, maybe Mommy Ronnie is going to be making an appearance on
Mommy Ronnie would
YouTube.
crush it.
Wouldn't that be cool? Yeah, I don't know. I like doing it. I bet you probably feel similar. Like the PT community, at least with like creators, is relatively small. I'd say like it's a pretty niche thing. And I really love connecting with people online. Like it's fun for me. Making the videos is fun for me. So I'm just going to keep doing that until it dies.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep going till people stop watching.
Yeah,
No doubt about
exactly.
it.
But even when they're not watching, like it might come back up, you know. It's kind of
That's
this
true.
it's there's this up and this down. I mean,
And social media does have ebbs and flows. I mean, even as somebody, you may look at the size of my following and just assume that every video crushes it. Not the case.
no, yeah,
Still,
same.
there's ebbs and flows no matter how big of a creator you are. And so if you are creating and you are in a low period, just keep going. Social media is a volume game. If you keep posting, something will hit, and then you'll go through another rush, and then ultimately on the other end of that, there'll be another dip. But if you really enjoy it and you have a good time doing it, then you owe it to yourself to just keep kind of posting through it.
Yeah, I agree. And you said it earlier, but it resonated with me that like it's such a weird place to be where so much of what you're doing relies on you have no control over the viewership. Like you can have so many followers, but it is completely totally out of your control. Like it doesn't matter. No one's going to solve the algorithm. It's just not happening.
Can't do it.
Can't
And
do
it's
it.
funny. It's funny too because TikTok. The reason it became such a quality platform in my experience is because A, it has the best algorithm. It's the best at getting videos to people that enjoy certain things, and B, it's completely based on how good that video is. TikTok does not care how many followers you have.
Right.
It's based on every video by the video. And if you stop putting out good content, they will punish you. And I used to have a patient that worked for Instagram. And she told me that Instagram Reels are shifting to a more, a system based more like TikTok, where it no longer cares how many followers you have. They're not going to show it to as many people. It has to satisfy the same algorithmic standards. And I was
Hmm.
like, oh, can we actually please not do that? Because I recently got a bunch of followers, and I would love to just get like a little lazy and make some make some videos that may not be as good, but I would still like people to see it. And she was like, no, no.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you got
there's
to you got to stay on it. You got to
right.
stay on your game.
It's a constant chase and a constant game. But last piece about the content, which I thought was interesting, is I like how you've like really built it into your schedule. I am probably going to take a page out of your book with that because I haven't really found a space. I mean, right now my schedule's weird because I just like a baby dictates my life, but it is pretty neat that you, first of all, schedule out time. Like if your patient's at 8 o'clock, you're getting there at 7:15, and then how quickly that you can edit videos. I think a lot of people are terrified of the editing and the like, oh, this is going to be really hard. But it's all about reps and volume, and the faster the more that you do the editing, the faster you're going to get, because I, same as you, I can finish an Instagram reel or a TikTok in 20 minutes. Once I have all the videos that I need, it's pretty quick editing. So love that for you. And I want to start doing a little bit more of that. So I don't feel like things are just like flying all over my brain.
Yeah, it helps. I think just because we treat patients and you have to like fit a certain patient into a certain time slot, I work better fitting the content making into a time slot where I treat it like an appointment. I treat it like it's just part of my workday, and it just it's made it easier for me to stay disciplined, and I think it's also resulted in some better content.
Yeah. I love your content. That's how you're
Thank
here
you.
in the first place. Yes, yes. Okay. Last little bit before we finish up, I ask everybody this now. It's like my new thing. If you could go back to your PT school self, graduating in 2017, and give yourself one piece of advice or like wise words, what would it be?
Yikes.
I know.
Um,
We're putting you on the spot here.
Boy, I don't know, because I tell students two main things that I tell students, and I guess I would have been a kind of a student at the time, just kind of getting into the workforce. I say that you better not be getting into this profession for the money because you'll never be happy. But if you're getting into this profession because you genuinely want to help people and you want to connect with people and you want to teach people how they can get better using nothing more than the power of their own body, then you will certainly feel fulfilled. It just may not come from the financial side of things. And if you do want to feel fulfilled on the financial side of things, you are going to need a side hustle of some kind. You will not be able to work as a staff physical therapist in most settings and have a financially lucrative career. And so, whether it's social media or whether it's starting your own practice or whether it's doing stuff on the side on your own, maybe you're partnering with either dance schools or sports teams on the weekends and things like that. You need some sort of side hustle. I don't think that I would tell Dan anything because things have worked out better than I ever could have imagined.
Yeah.
But that is something that I do tell students. Those are the two main things.
I like that you wouldn't tell Dan anything because I have reflected on this for my own self. And I'm like, I actually think I would just say, yeah, just keep on keeping on. Don't worry about it. You're good.
Yeah, just do you, man. It's gonna work out.
It's gonna be fine. Like, don't stress about it. You'll pass the boards. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And I agree. And it's funny because I think every physical therapist knows that they're not going to make a lot of money working in a basic like outpatient ortho clinic. I knew that. And I still was like, nah, I'll be different. Like, I'm going to make a lot of money. Like I just had this, I don't know. It didn't click in my head that was also going to be me. And I was going to be in that seat and I was going to have to implement change. So those are good, sound pieces of advice.
Yeah, but I think that's also a lesson in manifestation because when I graduated, I also was like, I know that my starting salary is going to be in the low $60,000 a year, but I just feel like things are going to work out.
That's exactly how I was.
And they did. And so, yeah, so I think believing in yourself and taking the risks, and I think maybe that's what I would say is take the risks. If you're afraid to start a clinic, start it. See what happens. If you're afraid to post on the internet, just do it. See what happens.
Who cares?
I think take the risk because as physical therapists, the whole reason we're in this profession is because we're terrified of taking risks. We chose a very safe profession where there's no life and death situations. It's just like there's not a. It's arguably maybe the safest profession in all of healthcare.
You tell people, like family members, you're going to be at PT. They're like, "Oh, great job security. You're going to be fine."
Exactly. You're never going to be out of work. But ultimately, you chose it because you knew you wanted to help people, but you're also a coward. And so,
Facts.
and so, I would tell people to take the risks, even though it feels outside of your nature. Do it because worst case, it just doesn't work out. Best case, it changes your life.
Yeah, I think that's it. Mic drop. That concludes our podcast. Well, Dr. Dan, thank you so much for coming on. Again, just for anybody that missed the first part of this, he's got a book coming out on December 9th. You can pre-order it on Amazon and other places.
Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target. It is everywhere.
Perfect.
Or support your local bookstore, you know?
Yeah. And it's called The Pain-Free Body, and it's full of really good stuff, and I can't wait to get my hands on it.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.